What? There are over 8,000 planets with maybe less than 10% of compelling content to any of them. And this is apparently intentional and by design. Todd Howard said this himself. Everyone's concerned that empty planets are going to be boring. But when the astronauts went to the moon, there was nothing there. And they certainly weren't bored. Well, more often than not, I'm fucking bored, Todd! Let's move on to Quest then. Could you give us a...
Nah. Nah, I don't want to accept that I actually heard that. See? I don't want to accept that. Hold on there. The man said, well, when the astronauts went to the moon, they weren't bored. Of course they were. Jesus Christ. I'm sure they tried to start a fire and it wouldn't happen. You know, like, what else can we do up here? Nothing. You know, how you go? How you didn't go there? You never go to the moon. I have a nerve to look at this man and tell him say. Yeah, I'll go lie. I miss listening to these reviews that Angry Joe do. I have to listen to these, man. I have to listen to these. This is his review on Starfield, and him did the one about Redfall. Jesus, Redfall was so bad. Oh my God. What were those things supposed to be? A cross between vampires and zombies? What was that? Like vampires that never really have an identity and they never remember who they were? I don't know. Listen to me. When them man here review things, you know, man, you have to laugh. Bro. I feel like that's what I should do. Like for the most inappropriate content, you know. Ah, look at that. Look at that. The most inappropriate content. Ah. Yeah. No, for real. Like, because why not? Why not entertain the nonsense? I want to watch Archer. I can't watch it on cinema. Nah. That's TVMA. Everything TVMA is allowed over here. You know. We're not safe for work over here. But seriously. Let's listen to the rest of the madness.
Example of what that's like.
Yeah, Jeff, as an example of a quest. You'll go to a star yard, talk to a lady, need to fetch a beverage, 10 loading screens later and you've got a beverage. That's it. That's the only quest in that handcrafted location.
How can the billions of planets in No Man's Sky somehow be more interesting and zen to explore than the 1,695 planets in Starfield?
That's what I'm saying. We're all the alien with us.
Frankly, the universe is kind of boring.
Yes. That's what I like. You go to planets, it feels fucking empty. It doesn't feel like.
We're all the alien women. This ain't Star Trek, Joe. This ain't
No,
the green
like,
ladies. But I honestly, I would love that. I would love it if it was way more interesting.
Yeah, because like I said
It's
before, I
just
wanted
not
it to be
in-
like Star Wars.
They
So
wanted
go
to
different
do
galaxies. or
Star
different
Wars.
NASA. They wanted to do post NASA, and that's a creative decision. I just think it's
wrong.
I just think it's wrong.
I wanted to see them get creative for like different kinds of species, like talking to new
Oh my
life forms.
God, this reminds me of Mass Effect Andromeda.
No, hold on, wait. Wait, hold on. Hold on.
Lockpicking, you can open everything, but you can't convince this kid to buy drugs from you. And that's a real tragedy.
The Act Man.
Never touches kids.
New Vegas is based on trade-offs. Trades give you positive and negative bonuses right from the start. These are going to severely affect your play style. Best of all, if you pick Wild Wasteland, you get to fight aliens and see all sorts of crazy stuff. Often in RPGs, at some point your character becomes so overpowered, it takes all the decision-making out of leveling up. because you're gonna kick the game's ass whether or not you can be noticed underwater. Every time I leveled up in New Vegas, I took a solid 5 minutes to look over my options. Skills, perks, traits, stats, challenges. All these mechanics work together in harmony. That's why this game has such a satisfying progression and fair challenge. What's that? Oh yeah, I guess we're still in the tutorial. Well, thanks for the pit boy, Doc. Hope I don't come back to kill you later. And now, my friends, let the great journey into the Mojave Wasteland begin.
Jesus Christ! Yo! Yo, that sound will never stop being funny. Yo, you know, like when somebody get knocked out and you hear them play. When you hear them play that computer sound when in other words, when a catastrophic failure take place on Microsoft. That sound is a sound where you know, say, alright, something go wrong. Fatally wrong. Yo, hold on, I need to play about that, cause that trust me.
Back to kill you later. And now, my friends, let the great journey into the Mojave Wasteland begin.
Yo.
Patrolling the Mojave.
Listen, but that's not the one I wanted to catch, you know, because this is the one where him talk about a game that is actually good, right? I want to catch one where him talk about something like him absolutely hates. Let me see if I can find it.
Towards like Diablo 2, the much darker style.
Major redesign to make them feel like more grim, a little scarier, a little darker.
And when writing this next chapter, we really wanted to return to our darker roots.
Everything's a little darker, everything's more difficult.
The story of Lilith and Inarius is the darkest story we've ever told.
What?
It's the darkest story we've ever told.
You have done well, Alice. Now I think you shall have your reward.
The story of Lilith and Inarius is the darkest story we've ever told.
The Dark Tone is at direct odds with the game.
What is that if not pretentious?
Personality is not solely defined by how sexy they are. You can fuck bears in Baldur's Gate 3 and you can fuck aliens in Mass Effect. There's also options for same-sex romance, and you don't see too many people complain about that. If you're gay or a little curious or just want to see how the romances can play out, those options exist. They add diversity to a game in RPG in a very good way. You know, this old reliable clip is actually relevant to the discussion for once.
I wrote a blog post about why I video games. Because this is what it does. It appeals to like the male fantasy.
Wait, this isn't the right video. Here, hold on, I gotta switch these. You know what? Fuck it, keep it rolling. Oh my god, shirtless John Marston? But Red Dead 2 is the perfect game to illustrate the power of diversity. And perhaps sex appeal. Because RDR2 appeals to the male and female gays. Just as you can customize the outfits for Eve, you can do the same with Arthur. There are compilations of women thirsting over Arthur. And all I gotta say is, back off ladies, he's mine.
And then I also just weirdly really liked the, oh my god. Really, I'm so jealous of her. I'm so jealous.
One of our wonderful assistant directors, Gethin Aldous, he says, Raj, we gotta do those horse lines again. I was like, why? He said, well, it's a little too intimate. You know, it sounds like you're not talking to a horse. I was like, what do you mean? And he played it back, and I was like, you're all right, girl.
can thirst over Sadie Adler like a parched baboon. Then hell yeah, I hope women who play RDR2 can simp for Arthur Morgan. Again, it comes down to both of these characters feeling like real complex people that you can just inherently find attractive. It's called personality. There's no mystery behind good writing. It boils down to the developer's intentions and goals, their characters, and their game. If you want to make a graphic visual novel kind of game, probably don't call it Sex with Hitler. It might be you could start. And there are egregious and what I would consider bad examples of sexualization in video games. Isabella from Dragon Age 2 is just this smelly pirate hooker. Like, that's mostly her character. Now, I'm biased because I'd rather eat goat diarrhea than play Dragon Age 2, but even then, Isabella still has more going on. She's mostly a smelly pirate hooker, but my issues with her character have more to do with the romance system. It isn't just writing. Bad sexualization can be tied to the game mechanics. You want to romance this character? Just hit the icon with the heart on it. You'll be contracting gonorrhea in no time. I don't mind the dialogue mill in Mass Effect, but when it comes to gaining approval or influence with characters and romancing them in an RPG, I'd much prefer titles like...
I finally found the clip. I finally found it.
Thirst over anything with a pair of tits. Despite having specific outlets for this content, it now needs to be injected into all media to cater solely to them. How is this any different from putting realistic body standards in video games to cater to a different crowd? It's not. What? Company make product because want money? Dove is challenging narrow beauty stereotypes within...
My dog just pissed me off just now. I might kill one of them. Let's try again.
So many levels, dudes will thirst over anything with a pair of tits. Despite having specific outlets for this content, it now needs to be injected into all media to cater solely to them. How is this any different from putting realistic body standards in video games to cater to a different crowd? It's not. What? Company make product because want money? Dove is challenging narrow beauty stereotypes within the games industry with a new campaign that promotes avatars that look...
You know what you have to do when you can't find the exact clip? At least now I know. So it's from Our Video Game Characters Too Sexy, the actor man. Finally found it. Anyway. May I make this shorter? It's not quite aim in the aim, but we'll figure this one out.